In a market that hosts more than 1600 cryptocurrencies and new ones showing up every single day, two of them have stood out for the last few years, Ethereum and Bitcoin. I'm Rahul from
Hello,
Simply
hello.
Learn, and today we're going to talk about Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Now, before we get into it, let's see what the Nobel Prize winner in economics, Milton Friedman, had to say in 1999. He believed that the internet was going to be one of the major forces in reducing the role of the government. He also believed that the one thing that was missing was reliable electronic cash. And just like he predicted in 2009, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin was born. So, what exactly is a cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency works very similar to how our normal currency works. Now, normal currency could be dollar, euro, pound, yen, rupees, and so on. Now, any form of currency that isn't a cryptocurrency falls under the banner of normal currency. The normal currency is also known as fiat currency. Now, the major difference between cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies is that cryptocurrencies are decentralized. What does that mean? This means that cryptocurrencies don't have a central authority controlling them. Now, for example, they don't have a bank or a government that regulate how the cryptocurrency works. In a way, the cryptocurrency works in a very democratic fashion. Any change that needs to take place is done only after a majority of the people using the cryptocurrency agree to it. Cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies are similar because both of them were created as a medium of exchange. However, that's where the similarity ends. With cryptocurrencies, there are no third parties involved. For example, with fiat currencies, you have banks, your money lenders, governments, and so on. With cryptocurrencies, we have cryptographic functions to ensure that the transactions are kept secure. Bitcoin uses the SHA-256 algorithm to ensure that the transactions are kept secure. But most importantly, cryptocurrencies use blockchain. Now, a blockchain is a set of records that are placed into a container known as a block. Now, these transactions are kept public and in a chronological order. So, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin, which was released in 2009 by the still unknown Satoshi Nakamoto, is a cryptocurrency that's decentralized, which means that there's no central authority that controls how it works. It works using encryption techniques like the SHA-256 algorithm to help people send and receive money across the world. Now, as I mentioned before, the payments are secured using cryptography. The most important point about Bitcoin is that it helps keep the identity of the people sending and receiving money anonymous. The transaction fee is also very low. Now, we all know that when we perform a transaction with the bank, some amount of money or service charge is levied on us. However, with Bitcoin, this value is very low. So what is Ether or Ethereum? Ethereum, which was created in 2015 by Vitalik Buterin, is a cryptocurrency which provides Ether tokens. This is equivalent to Bitcoins that you find in the Bitcoin network. Ether is used by users to build and deploy decentralized applications. Now, these are applications whose backend code is placed in a distributed peer-to-peer network. Now, this is different from a regular application as the backend code is placed in a centralized server in this case. Ether is also used to pay for services like the computational power that is required before a block can be added to the blockchain and as transaction fees. Ether also works very similar to how Bitcoin works and can be used for peer-to-peer payments. Ether can also be used to create smart contracts. Now, smart contracts work in such a way that when a certain set of predefined rules are satisfied, a particular output takes place. If you're interested in learning more about smart contracts, I suggest you click on the top right corner and watch our What is a Smart Contract video. And now for the thing you've been waiting for, Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Now, on one side, we have Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin has proven itself to be a very popular and well-known cryptocurrency among everyone in the world. It also has the highest market cap among all the cryptocurrencies available right now. In a way, it's the current world champion when it comes to cryptocurrencies. On the other side, we have the underdog Ethereum. Now, Ethereum did not have the revolutionary effect that Bitcoin did, but it learned from Bitcoin and produced more functionalities on the concepts of Bitcoin. It is the second most valuable cryptocurrency in the market right now. So in a way, this is the fight between the underdog and the world champion. Who do you think will win? Now, let's understand how Bitcoin and Ethereum are different from each other. Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency to be ever created. It was released in 2009 by a group of people or a person known as Satoshi Nakamoto. No one really knows if this person is alive or dead. However, with this technology came the concept of blockchain, which is still revolutionizing institutions around the world. On the other side, Ethereum was released in 2015 by a researcher and a programmer named Vitalik Buterin. Now, Vitalik used the concepts of blockchain and Bitcoin and improved upon it, providing a lot more functionality, creating the Ethereum platform for distributed applications and smart contracts. Bitcoin enables peer to peer transactions. Bitcoin, in this case, acts as a replacement for fiat currencies, just that it removes all the problems associated with fiat currencies. For starters, you don't have to pay high transaction fees for a transaction. At the same time, you also don't have a centralized authority that regulates how bitcoins work. On the other hand, we have Ethereum, which enables peer-to-peer transactions and also provides a platform for creating and building smart contracts and distributed applications. A smart contract allows users to exchange just about anything of value, be it shares, money, real estate, and so on. In Bitcoin, miners are able to validate transactions with a method known as proof of work. This is the same with Ethereum as well. Proof of work involves miners around the world trying to solve a complicated mathematical puzzle to be the first one to add a block to the blockchain. Ethereum, however, will be moving to something known as proof of stake. The concept of proof of stake works in such a way that a person can mine or validate transactions in a block based on how many coins he or she owns. The more the amount of coins that a person owns, the larger their mining power will be. In the case of Bitcoin, every time a miner adds a block to the blockchain, they're rewarded with 12.5 Bitcoins. This reward that they receive is expected to halve every 210,000 blocks. Now, the next time the reward is going to halve is in the year 2020, where the reward will reduce from 12.5 Bitcoins to 6.25 Bitcoins per block. In the case of Ethereum, a miner or a validator receives a value of 3 Ether every time a block is added to the blockchain. The transaction fees in Bitcoin is completely optional. You can pay the miner more amounts of money to have them give special attention to your transaction. However, as I mentioned before, the transaction will go through even if you don't provide any money. On the other hand, it is absolutely necessary that you provide some amount of ether for your transaction to be successful. The ether that you provide will get converted into a unit called gas. Now, this gas drives the computation that allows your transaction to be added to the blockchain. Now, let's talk about the average amount of time it takes to add a block to the blockchain. In the case of Bitcoin, it takes 10 minutes to add a block to the blockchain. In the case of Ethereum, it takes only about 12 to 15 seconds for the same process. Now, let's talk about hashing algorithms, or how these systems can maintain their privacy and ensure security. Bitcoin uses a hashing algorithm known as SHA-256. Ethereum uses a cryptographic algorithm called ET-hash. Now, let's talk about some important values associated with Bitcoin and Ethereum. The total number of coins that each of them have are 17 million Bitcoins and 101 million Ether. Now, you can see that Ethereum has easily crossed the 100 million mark. However, the market capitalization for Bitcoins is 110 billion US dollars, whereas for Ethereum, it's only 28 billion. So even though Ethereum has a larger number of coins in the market, it does not reach up to the level of Bitcoin. The number of transactions that take place in a day for Bitcoin is 219,000, and at the same time for Ethereum it's 659,000. Now you can see this throughout July, where the number of transactions per day stay more or less the same for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, the number of blocks that are created for Bitcoin is 537,000. For Ethereum, that goes up to 6 billion. Now, this has more to do with the fact that the amount of time it takes for a block to be added to Ethereum is much less as compared to Bitcoin. Now, the block size for Bitcoin is 628.286 kilobytes and 25.134 kilobytes for Ethereum. Now you can see that the market value of Bitcoin is significantly higher than any form of digital currency in the market right now. It is, however, closely followed by Ether, which hopes to take over one day. And now for the big question, which one is better? The answer depends entirely on your requirements. Bitcoin works better as a peer-to-peer transaction system, and Ethereum works well when you need to create and build distributed applications and smart contracts. At the end of the day, the choice is entirely up to you. And with that, we've come to the end of
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. That's always a good way to start. So today we're going to talk about a report that came out from Masari, and I was inundated with requests yesterday on Patreon and even today to cover that report, what it means for the chains, etc., etc. So this is the Ethereum versus Solana face-off. And remember, when we as investors look at certain assets, it's always about relative value, not necessarily the best or the worst, but is a 99-cent hamburger better than a $200 steak? Who knows? I don't know. But a big shout out as well to Grimlock Official. Thank you for that. And also, somebody else, Signal 103. So this is the Ethereum versus Solana face-off, the battle for blockchain supremacy. The question is, who will win? And of course, this is not financial advice. This is just a guy on the internet chatting away with you all. And of course, this key doesn't work. And if you want to amplify your intelligence, subscribe to the channel. Interesting times ahead. So the story, again, big report from Masari. Question is, what is better? So as usual, we take this in a very data-driven approach. We look at over 40 different parameters, including all of the data from Masari. And then we score them, and then we see what's better. Or maybe is one chain 40 times better? That'll be the interesting thing to solve at the end. So first of all, let's look at a comparison of the chains as we go forward. So here, we have TPS up to 65,000 transactions per second versus 15 for Ethereum. Average fee, a fraction of a penny. Ethereum is $15. Latency, less than half a second. 5 minutes for Ethereum, and etc., etc. Market cap, very, very different. Let's look. This is just going to be a ton of information, real time, objective, so you can make your own decisions. That's all we do here. In addition, let's look at monthly active users, pretty stunning chart by the team at Nansen. And you can see here the two biggest chains, one BNB, about 12.4 million monthly active users. And a very close second, Tron, another nearly 12.4 million monthly active users. Then in third place, you have 9.5 million monthly active users from Solana. And you can see Polygon. On 4.8 beats us, Ethereum 4.7, the one in question. And they are kind of the top activity chains we see today. Again, it's just data. I make a lot of charts. I didn't make this one. So let's talk about why do people use Solana? What do they like about it? Well, it's fast, it's decentralized and scalable. It's also cheap. In addition, it is the largest proof-of-stake blockchain by node count. You can see here there are 2,421 validators. Ethereum has 3,022. But the key here is the Nakamoto coefficient. I'll talk more about that later too. Nakamoto coefficient for Solana is 31 versus 20 for Ethereum. And that's all because a lot of the kind of stakers on Ethereum run through big pools, which run through big AWS type operations. Now, this is the multi-billion-dollar question I've been trying to answer for years now, and that is, what is better? Enter Masari crypto here. So this is kind of what I call modular versus monolithic. Monolithic is one structure. Modular is a whole bunch of little building blocks to solve a whole bunch of different problems. So some people, including Masari, believe that modular design make it difficult to scale. But some people, including Masari, also believe that an integrated design offers advantages, both from a scalability and security perspective. So the question is whether Solana can meet the cost requirements of its customers to gain traction in the market. Hang on a second. I don't know where my key is. Yeah. All right. We're not even going to worry about the key. We'll just assume it doesn't work. But the key part of this chart here, ladies and gentlemen, is this. When we zoom in and look at a couple of elements that I highlighted, obviously, decentralization. Solana got dinged here by Masari with a score of just 3 out of 5, whereas decentralization got a much higher score for Ethereum, 4 out of 5. And also developer experience, Solana only got 4 out of 5, whereas the developer experience for Ethereum is 4.5 out of 5. Now remember, the crazy thing about this is if it wasn't for these two, Solana would have beaten on this particular parameter from Masari. But the issue is, what is more decentralized? If you go based on the Nakamoto coefficient, Solana wins. If you look at developer experience, of course, Ethereum has a Lindy effect. It's been around for 8-9 years. Solana is new. It's very new. Also, the coding language is different. So that developer experience, I think it needs to be modified based on modifiers based on the Lindy effect. So let's jump into the other thing, Firedancer. Masari did bring this up, and they talked about unlocking the blue ocean, which refers to a strategic approach to create an uncontested market space and make the competition relevant. So Masari do believe that Firedancer could unlock the blue ocean opportunity and DeFi for Solana. And we'll talk more about that later too as we go forward. In addition, we did talk about this before, but this is with Firedancer what it does for scalability. And current blockchains are limited in the types of applications that can be built on them. This is because they have very low throughput, i.e. the number of TPS, transactions per second, and high storage costs. So Solana has overcome these by scaling to over 1 million TPS, and this could really develop high throughput financial apps, just like stock exchanges, etc., and also run traditional consumer apps like social media. So this is the really exciting thing about Solana, and the fact that it runs so fast, it can have a wide breadth of applications as we go forward. Let's talk about another thing that Masari did bring up. Let's look at Solana state compression technology, and this allows users to store Web2 scale user activity data on-chain by hashing things like NFT metadata into a Merkle tree. And this reduces the cost of storing NFT data as users can append new data to the tree without having to store the entire tree on-chain. This is the compression magic that Solana have cracked the code on. And this means here, when you look at how they compare to other type of players, you know, for example, AltLayer using Arbitrum, they have a huge advantage. And that is also extremely big for the Solana chain. In addition, another aspect they have that's quite unique, and this talks about local fee markets. On the left is Solana, on the right is Ethereum. You can see Ethereum helps deal with local fee markets using Optimism and Arbitrum. And Solana's local fee markets are a solution to scalability that challenge traditional blockchains, because what Solana does, they allow transactions to be processed in parallel and by pricing transactions based on the local state of the network. And Solana's local fee markets can help minimize congestion while maintaining composability of assets, which is also a unique feature. In addition, when we look at how some of this works together and the impact it's had on the market, Masari brought up Metaplex wallet activity and how it has skyrocketed. And what this basically means is the number of transactions and the amount of SOL being transferred in and out of Metaplex wallets has increased significantly. Now, there is a positive sign for the Solana ecosystem, as it indicates there's huge growing interest in Solana-based NFTs and also other DeFi applications. Now, Metaplex is a Solana-based protocol for creating and minting NFTs, auctions, visualizing them, etc., and it works with such collections like the Degen Ape Academy and the Aurori and so much more, but that explosive is quite telling. Again, this data is all from Masari, not from me. My data will come in a minute. This is also another view of that from the Solana NFT marketplace. This is Tensor. Now, what's incredible about this came from nothing earlier this year to 40% NFT market share domination, which is stunning, the fact that it's done this so fast. And this is a significant achievement for Tensor, and it shows that it's the leading NFT marketplace not only on Solana, but also competing with other ones like Magic Eden, OpenSea, etc., Solana Art, etc. So the growth is spectacular. Again, as I've always said, if you have the best solution, best user interface, cheapest prices, fastest transaction time, people will be very happy. Let's look at ecosystems real quick. How does Solana compare to Ethereum? So Ethereum, per Masari, is ahead of Solana in terms of liquidity. Decentralization, we talked about that earlier. I don't agree with that. Ecosystem activity, yes. And developer tools, yes. However, some might prefer Solana because they value other factors. So again, Masari don't seem to be focused on Nakamoto score, but variables indicating future potential, low cost performance, composability, which Solana excels in, by the way, may carry more weight than variables indicating current prospects, like decentralization and liquidity. So I highlighted the three that they scored very well on. And the question is, at the end of the day, what matters? And I believe those three are probably more important than, look at, for example, on the other side of the fence here, developer experience and liquidity. Yes, liquidity is very important for DeFi applications, but as things grow, that problem will solve itself. So let's talk about composability, because that's often misunderstood and how important it is in this space for blockchains, why it's crucial. So composability is crucial because it allows different blockchain applications to work together, and developers can save time and effort by reusing code and functionality from existing applications to build new ones, such as decentralized exchanges. Basically, the cloning of something to help